April 2026. Smoke is rising over Tehran. Israeli airstrikes have decimated the absolute pinnacle of Iran's power structure, killing both the supreme leader and his chosen successor. The Middle East is teetering on the edge. To pull the region back from the brink, high-stakes ceasefire negotiations are convened in Islamabad between the U.S. and the remnants of the Iranian government. But look closely at who is sitting across the table from the Americans. The Iranian delegation isn't being led by a religious cleric in traditional robes. It's led by a man in a dark suit, Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. During one of the most severe international crises in modern history, Ghalibaf is logging on to social media and giving stock tips. He's openly advising Wall Street traders to short the market whenever President Trump posts about the negotiations, calling the U.S. statements a setup for profit-taking. Ghalibaf has managed this ascent despite a career defined by public rejection. He is widely known as Iran's most corrupt military commander and has run for the presidency 4 separate times, losing every single bid. His ability to survive these scandals and election losses reveals how power is actually brokered and maintained within the Islamic Republic. To understand his rise, we have to look at the 3 separate personas he used to navigate the system. Ghalibaf's foundation within the regime was poured in blood. During the grueling Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, he joined the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, and rapidly ascended the ranks to become a division commander by the time he was just 22 years old. On the battlefield, he demonstrated extreme, ruthless pragmatism. To clear paths for his offensives, he ordered his own soldiers to conduct human wave attacks, literally sweeping active minefields with their bodies. That willingness to sacrifice lives for military objectives caught the attention of his superiors. It was in these trenches that he forged his deepest, most crucial political alliances with future power brokers, including Qasem Soleimani and the man who would become supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Decades later, the regime needed an enforcer at home. They made Ghalibaf the chief of police. During widespread civil unrest in 1999, he co-signed an infamous letter threatening the reformist president, Mohammad Khatami, with a violent military crackdown if the protests weren't stopped. He wasn't bluffing. In a leaked audio tape that surfaced years later, Ghalibaf can be heard bragging to paramilitary forces about his handling of student protests in 2003. He details how he personally ordered police forces to open fire on the demonstrators. This era of his life proved his absolute loyalty to the deep state. By demonstrating a willingness to crush both foreign enemies and domestic dissent, he established the violent credentials required to survive the upper echelons of Iranian politics. But brute force doesn't win elections. After losing his first bid for the presidency in 2005, Ghalibaf pivoted. He secured the position of Mayor of Tehran, a post he held for 12 years, and rebranded himself as a highly capable, modernizing technocrat. He cultivated an outward-facing persona focused entirely on development. He expanded the Tehran metro system, built massive new expressways, and even traveled to the World Economic Forum in Davos to actively court Western investors. But this modernization project had a deeply cynical underside. Ghalibaf was funneling Tehran's most lucrative infrastructure contracts directly to Khatam al-Anbiya, the vast engineering firm owned and operated by the IRGC, which he himself used to command. The grift extended into city real estate. Investigations revealed that he illegally transferred 80,000 square meters of prime Tehran property to political allies, IRGC front groups, and his own wife's charity at massive cut-rate discounts. This chart shows the scale of the operation. In 2022, another leaked audio file exposed Ghalibaf and his old ally Qasem Soleimani attempting to cover up a $2 billion embezzlement scheme. The funds were siphoned out of municipal coffers and into the shadow accounts of Yas Financial Holding, an IRGC subsidiary. When lawmakers tried to investigate the missing billions, Ghalibaf allegedly solved the problem with cash, bribing members of parliament $22 million to drop the inquiry entirely. He never saw the inside of a courtroom. His mayoral tenure demonstrated his ultimate utility to the regime. He could maintain a modern, functional facade to the west, while operating the city as a massive, illicit financial engine to enrich the IRGC. Despite overwhelming public backlash over the corruption, Supreme Leader Khamenei personally shielded Ghalibaf. He refused to let him resign, calculating that losing him would weaken the system more than the scandals already had. Realizing the presidency was likely a closed door for him, Ghalibaf shifted his focus. In 2020, he successfully outmaneuvered rival factions, including traditional conservatives and hardliners, to secure the immensely powerful role of parliament speaker. From the speaker's chair, he adopted a third persona. He branded himself a neoconservative, carefully staking out a political middle ground designed to appease both the strict revolutionary hardliners and the pragmatic modernizers. You can see this balancing act in his actual policies. On one hand, he blocks international anti-terror financing treaties to protect the IRGC's funding networks. On the other, he remains publicly open to negotiating the nuclear deal with the West in order to relieve crippling economic sanctions. It's a precise tactical stance. It made him the only political figure in Iran capable of talking to both IRGC commanders in secret and Western diplomats in public. All of which brings us back to the table in Islamabad in April 2026. Ghalibaf, sitting across from American diplomats, is not a mistake or a temporary fill-in. It is the culmination of 40 years of survival instincts. The final irony is that he is leading the nation despite having lost yet another presidential election in 2024. His presence proves that popular votes and clean hands are entirely irrelevant when it comes to holding power in Tehran. The true requirements for power in the Islamic Republic are absolute loyalty to the shadow state, a proven willingness to crush domestic dissent, and the ability to facilitate systemic corruption for the military elite. The United States is now facing the ultimate political chameleon, a man who has mastered the art of the rebrand